Joe, welcome. We're just setting this up. We are streaming live right now as I'm getting the screen set up, and we'll start in a few minutes formally. Hey, Tyler, take this upstairs, would you? Take this upstairs. Okay. This is Seven Seas Cruising Association, and we are starting our seminar or our presentation of SSCA Bahia de Gracias in Luperon, our Fair Winds Come Seas party, which is a potluck and a group of people, and then another group of people who are staying and visiting and talking online. I'll be starting the webinar in a few minutes, and we have Captain Joe Kopinski here. We have Kathy from Garcia, Cat's Docks in Luperon. We have Denise Simpson, our DR regional host. We will have other hosts, but we'll be starting this formally in a few minutes. It's 3:00. Let's kick this off. We have Captain Joe Kopinski. We have other guests that have been invited. This is Seven Seas Cruising Association. It's Bahia de Gracias, and my Spanish is terrible. It's Luperon's Fair Winds Come Sea Party. We have cruising hosts from the Dominican Republic, Luperon, Kathy McCall Garcia. She's a cruising host for Luperon. We have the cruising station host from Samana, Marina Puerto Bahia, or his stand-in, Gavi, and the DR regional host, Denise Simpson. She's on Fair Lady. She's in Luperon, and she represents Ocean World and the local marinas in Luperon, such as Marina Puerto Blanca. And she also supports the Dominican Republic with general information. Guests include Chris Parker with Marine Weather Center, Trinidad and Tobago, Jesse James, our host there for many years, Antigua's Captain Joe Karpinski, and then Grenada's Lynn Goodings. They have all been invited. Some will be able to come in. We're having some network issues, but we're hoping that this will work well for everyone. I am Commodore Joan Conover. I'm the board member for SSCA and their president. We may be able to have Commodore Neil Davies join us. I would like to welcome and introduce online guests. And I'm going to see if Chris Parker has come online. He should be with us pretty soon. And I see Chris. Denise, can you unmute and tell me if you're able to see us? I'm asking Denise to unmute.
Hi there. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, and you have your group of people there. And we have, I see Gavi, is it correct? Your Marina Puerto Bahia in Samana? Hi, yes. And Chris Parker. So we have a majority of our guests here. Captain Joe is there. What I'm going to do is turn it over to Marine Weather Center because I know Chris is extremely busy with weather and whatnot. I'm going to introduce him. Chris is a personal friend, but also absolutely the most marvelous weather forecaster that we've ever experienced. He runs Marine Weather Center. You'll see him at www.mwxc.com for Marine Weather Center. And he's provided timely offshore and cruisers. And for the Atlantic, Caribbean, East Coast U.S., as well as Gulf of Mexico, and for trans-ocean passages. But it's not only a business. It has donated support for cruisers in distress to help locate or track vessels when asked by various groups. I mean, I can't tell the number of years that he has reached out to help sailors in the Caribbean or even the Pacific or Atlantic in trouble. And he has a well-thought-out weather system with voice, radio, daily online web presentations. He's available by phone call and email. He has a wonderful staff of meteorologists, and they're all led by his guidance. And he supported the mariners for many cruising miles of voyages. And we've used him personally, I think, for about 10 years now. And I'm going to turn this over to Chris. I'll stop my share and turn it over to you, Chris.
Hello, Joan. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm just going to mostly sit back and listen and be available to answer questions. But I just wanted to make sure you're aware of our services. And when you head out, we've got a variety of different offerings, which is a little confusing sometimes. But in addition to doing custom forecasts where we work one-on-one with vessels to plan your departure timing and then provide a forecast and routing advice when you're ready to leave and when the weather's good. We also have a regional daily email forecast, which is really useful for you to make your own weather-based decisions every day with information that's geared toward decision-making on small boats in the Caribbean, Bahamas, U.S. East Coast. So we have combinations of those services available at a discount, and those are listed on the website. So as Joan mentioned, we also have single sideband nets, and we simulcast those on the internet on webcasts. We do those mornings and evenings, 6 days a week, daily except Sundays. So you can communicate with us one-on-one up to twice a day, if you like. And yeah, good suite of services so that we're satisfying all your weather needs. And it's geared to cruisers and those of us on small boats. So when you're ready to venture out, just give us a shout. And if you want, we can talk a little bit this afternoon about weather patterns and places folks are going and things you might want to look for. So I'm just going to kind of sit in the background, and if anyone has a question, I'll be glad to step in. I do see a question from Joan, idea what the weather's going to be like in the Dominican Republic. So, we usually have easterly trade winds. And when you're leaving the Dominican Republic, if you're heading north and west to Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas, then if you're a sailor, you're probably looking for some wind for sailing. If you're a powerboat, you're looking for mild conditions. In addition to the sustained gradient winds supported by high pressure to the north and lower pressures down toward the equator, we have a diurnal land breeze, sea breeze, which is really significant. And especially from about 69, between 69 and 70 west, so between Rio San Juan and Puerto Plata, starting around in that area and continuing west all the way into the Windward Passage and up to the Turks and Caicos and over to Great Anagua, there's a really significant afternoon and evening funneling effect of the sea breeze. So computer models often underestimate this a little bit, and it is really significant. So with a gradient wind about 20 knots, often we can get 25 gusting into the low 30s for about 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day, typically in the mid afternoons through evenings. And these winds also funnel into the Windward Passage. And then overnights into mornings, there's usually a calming effect with a katabatic wind coming off the land, a land breeze, where you get some abatement. But you've got to cover a pretty big area to get out of that zone of strong funneling wind that most vessels can't typically do. If you were going to take advantage of that, you'd really want to leave about midnight, and then try to get out of that zone by around 3 p.m. the following day. So a lot of vessels can't do that for one reason or another, whether it's the leaving at midnight part or the lack of enough speed to get out of that area. So you're probably looking for relatively benign trade winds so that diurnal afternoon evening sea breeze doesn't impact you too much. And for heading east, the land breeze sea breeze pattern is also an issue, and you can use it to your advantage, making short nighttime hops if you like, moving east. Typically when the trade winds are really strong, there's a lot of residual sea state, and you may only get really short opportunities when the wind and the seas have settled down, leaving at dawn or an hour or two before dawn and being in port on your next short little hop along the north coast of the DR by about 9 in the morning. So those are really, really short hops. But when the trade winds abate a little bit, then a lot of vessels would leave typically at by 6 o'clock in the evening, when the officials will let folks leave most of the time, I understand, and then get to the next port in the morning by about 9 o'clock in the morning. And that gives you a 15-hour window. First couple hours are a little rough, but then things settle down during the night. But when the trade winds are brisk, those first 6 hours between 6 p.m. and midnight can be just brutal. So you really want to wait until a relatively benign trade wind pattern to make those eastward hops. And we do get intervals where the trade winds go away just about completely. And those can provide opportunities to do, a nonstop 48-hour trip or so to the western coast of the Dominican Republic, or a 24-hour hop over to Samana. So I'll end things there unless anyone has any questions, and I'll be in the background and available for questions if there's anything else. Joan asked, so you're in Luperon, the Mona Passage says one path, and the other. Okay. Yep. The other is West Old Bahama Channel. Yeah, the Old Bahama Channel is certainly viable if you're moving toward Florida. That land breeze, sea breeze pattern also exists along the north coast of Cuba. Typically, an easterly trade wind pattern will be east-northeast in the afternoons and evenings and a little more brisk, and then veer to the east-southeast overnights into mornings and ease up a little bit. Also, when things are warm and moist, we can get afternoon thunderstorms developing inland over Hispaniola and over Cuba, and then often emerging along the north coast of the islands in the very late afternoons into early evenings. So that's not really typical at this time of year, but it is typical if you're getting going in the late spring, May, June. So that's something to watch out for. Diurnal thunderstorms developing inland in the afternoons and then coming off the coast late afternoons and evenings.
Chris, thank you very much. That is very good information. We'll let you drop to the background.
Okay.
I have a question, please.
We have a question. Can you type it in, Kathy?
Yep, I can type it in.
Or I hear you, Kathy, if you want to.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great. Chris, how confident are you that it's the end of hurricane season?
Yeah, how confident are we that it's the end of hurricane season? season, I wasn't confident at all in that this week, but it seems that the possible tropical low down in the Caribbean is not going to form. That residual energy is going to move over Nicaragua, and then it might emerge back off the coast, or more likely a new vorticity or spin in the atmosphere may develop somewhere in either the southwest or the northwest Caribbean over the next week or two, with some of that residual moisture maybe. But it seems like it's a really high shear environment in the southwest and northwest Caribbean for the next couple of weeks.
Small development happening on the south side of the island at the moment.
Kathy, did you? Can you hear me?
Mute when I'm talking.
Okay. So,
hey, Chris?
Kathy, yeah, I do think there's a potential that we could get something developing in the southwest or northwest Caribbean over the next few weeks, but it's a fairly low risk. I don't think we'll get anything. So my hunch is that we're done for the season, but I'm not terribly confident in that. Hopefully anything that develops in the West Caribbean wouldn't affect the north coast of the Dominican Republic. And there are no signs like we had last year with Hurricane Nicole in early November, developing just north of the Caribbean. There are no signs that anything like that's going to develop this season.
Chris, thank you very much for that.
Okay, wonderful. That's really great news for everybody.
And Kathy, Chris, thank you very much. And I am going to turn it to Gabi just to say hello. And then we'll turn it to Joe Kopinski, and then I'll turn it back to Kathy and Denise. So Gabi, tell me where you're at and what's the weather like and what is your situation right now?
Hi, everyone. I'm Puerto Bahia Marina. The weather is perfect here. It's sunny. There's not a lot of wind. It's a good day.
And you are the one of the hosts there at Puerto Bahia, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes. And I know that both Kathy and Denise talk to you frequently, and I think one of you was up in Annapolis for the boat show, and then several of you down in Miami. So yeah, welcome to a seminar or a discussion here. And you can see we're trying to share what's going on, tell people how to stay in contact and where to go. Do you have anything else you would like to share with us at all?
Yeah, as you know, we sponsor a few sailing associations, especially the SSCA. Any boaters or cruisers that are heading this way and stay at Puerto Bahia Marina will get 15% off on the dockage rate.
Thank you so much. We're going to be doing an event this coming week, and we're advertising that because I think that's very important. You have a beautiful facility. Thank you very, very much, Gabi. And I'm going to turn this over to Joe Kopinski he's in Antigua. He has very different weather requirements in Antigua, and I think you're welcoming some boats coming in from the north pretty soon. But the weather's been interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gabi. Joe, can you hear me? Let's see, I don't hear Joe. Joe, can you hear us? We're having some sound issues with Joe, I think. Joe, we don't hear you. It must be all the tropical breezes and the ocean effect in the background. Joe, we don't hear you. Just a second. Let me see if I can tell him no sound. So let's see if he gets that. Let's see if he can get his sound to work. Joe, can you hear us? Yes. We can't hear you. Okay. I'm going to move on to Denise and Kathy and have them introduce the people that they have. Denise, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and we'll mute Joe. And then if you want to unmute, you can introduce Denise. You can introduce the people you have there.
Sure.
There you are. You've got the screen, Denise.
She's passed it over to me, so you got Kathy.
Okay,
I'm your host for
Luperon.
in my home, and I'm going to introduce you to our wonderful. Actually, going to have them introduce themselves. So we'll start here.
Hey folks, my name is Tony, and I'm on Sierras 385.
That's Tony.
Hello, Jeff.
That's
I got one of the only classic yachts in the harbor. Yeah, this is Jeff, though.
This is Jeff. I'm over there.
Tony, we kicked him out. He's been acting up. The yacht here in Luperon, and my wife and I will be heading south to St. Kitts Nevis.
And this beautiful lady.
Hi, I'm Trish. I'm on Sienna's Choice as well, and I don't know where we're heading next, somewhere.
This is Zoo. She's staying on my docket, cat's docket at the moment.
I'm on a Capstock. I'm on a Morgan 41, actually to Grenada this season.
Wonderful. And you, my darling?
I'm Andrew, and my wife, April, and I are on sailing vessel sheet show. It's a catamaran, and we left Florida in January. Figured we are going to spend 2 months in the Bahamas, and I don't know where we're going next. But we're already overdue for getting back to Florida, but we're probably going to head south.
I think your wife disagrees.
That's a safe bet. That's
April, your husband said she's going back to Florida.
Hi.
Introduce yourself and what your boat.
Hi, I'm April. That was Andrew. I guess my husband's going back to Florida, and I'm going to Puerto Rico. So, Sailing Vessel Sheet Show. We're Leopard 39.
And you, my darling?
I am Christine Broadway. I'm on Sailing Vessel Banana Monohull with my husband Peter Yana.
And you're heading to?
And we're heading. We don't know yet. Either Bahamas or Puerto Rico. We haven't decided.
And then maybe Grenada?
Probably Curacao for next surfing season.
Right.
That's the ultimate plan.
You want to say hi?
Hello.
And you are?
Hey,
On?
I'm on SB Casada.
There you go. And this is your dad here in Karen.
Me, Dayton, my wife Karen, my little one Cam, Otis Dayton. We're on Sailing Vessel Casada. It's a 38-foot catamaran. And I think we're going back to the Bahamas. We're not sure yet either. 100% sure.
Okay. Anybody else?
One of us. I think that's it out here.
Okay, we got one more couple here. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Jan Marie. I'm on Sailing Vessel Katie's Race, and it's a Gulf Star 37, and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
We have on board at the moment. Anybody have any questions?
If anyone has questions, you can put it into chat and we will answer
Okay, I'm
it.
gonna do something over.
Okay, any questions?
Any questions?
I mean, sailing east and south, I guess, to Grenada.
Grenada.
Weather information? Yeah, I guess route information or just weather, like what's the typical thing you can expect? You went over that earlier. You did? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he did it for going the other direction.
Yeah, he did both.
Oh,
Yeah, he did both.
Okay, any other questions? No? No? We can always address it later on if there are. Okay.
So you're asking a question on whether going to Grenada down the eastern islands, down the eastern Caribbean island chains. And you haven't done this before, as I understand it,
Yes.
correct?
No, not at all.
Okay, Joan, I'm here. So you're leaving from Luperon area?
Yeah, Luperon south.
Got it. Okay. So the hardest portion of the trip usually is the portion from the north coast of the Dominican Republic to the Leeward Islands. Once you're in the Saint Martin area, things improve a little bit, and once you're in the Antigua area, things improve a lot. From Antigua southward, the typical trade winds are out of the east northeast to east in most of the winter, and then in the spring turn east to east southeast. So it is kind of a close reach, usually heading south in the spring, but during the winter, it's typically a nice beam reach from Antigua down to Grenada. Some of the interesting weather phenomena in that region is the islands from Antigua south to Grenada are mostly rather large mountainous islands, and they have a significant effect on the wind in the area. So in addition to the wind bending around the ends of the islands a little bit, so with an east wind, as you move south from Antigua and approach Guadeloupe, typically the wind starts backing east-northeast as you approach the north end of Guadeloupe because of the funneling effect around the north coast of Guadeloupe. There's also an acceleration of wind speed. So the wind probably backs a little bit as you're approaching the island and picks up an additional 5 knots. Once you're behind Guadeloupe and the rest of the island's heading south, the wind almost completely goes away. And then as you approach the southern end of the island, you get an east-southeast or a southeast, almost a headwind, because of the wind bending around the other end of the island. And then out in the pass between the islands, the wind continues to funnel quite briskly often. So you want to pay really close attention to the gradient wind forecast. Typically boost the wind between those islands, especially from Guadeloupe down to St. Vincent. The winds in the passes between those islands usually about 20 or 30% or so above the gradient wind forecast because of that funneling effect. And we also get nocturnal not typically thunderstorms, but nocturnal squalls. So, it's really green and tropical and lush, and that green, tropical, lush foliage has to be fed with water from the sky, fresh water, and it comes most nights from the wee hours of the morning, well before dawn, until a few hours after dawn. And those squalls often pack an additional 5 knots or so of wind. So things tend to be fairly enhanced wind-wise in the overnight into early morning hours. So those are the significant effects from Antigua southward. North of Antigua, you are kind of beating into the wind. And once you get to St. Martin, it's often a doable close reach to get to Antigua, but it's a close reach. You're as hard on the wind as you can sail, and you're looking for relatively milder conditions with north of east wind direction in order to lay that. But unfortunately, the whole trek from Luperon area to St. Martin is really hard on the wind. I mean, you're going right into the typical trade winds. So we have to do the nighttime hops typically, or maybe get a 24 or 48-hour window along the north coast of the Dominican Republic, and do the same thing along the south coast of Puerto Rico, short hops, and then pick a time to get across the Anegada Passage from the Virgin Islands to St. Martin. There's also adverse current in the area. So, you leave from Virgin Gorda and you're thinking you can probably lay St. Martin with an east-northeasterly wind, but then you get some current against you and the seas pick up in the Anegada Passage. And so you have to lay off the wind a little bit, and you end up, having to motor sail, and it can be really ugly. So we really like seeing mild conditions so that you don't get beat up. And in the wintertime, those don't come very often. You may wait a month in the Virgin Islands for an opportunity to get to St. Martin. But we can assist with that. And typically crossing the Mona Passage, we want to wait for probably a late afternoon departure from Samana, and then a daytime transit of the Mona Passage. So if you're leaving from Samana at, say, 6 p.m. in the evening, the first couple hours are rough, but then things settle down overnight. You get the katabatic winds coming off the land of the Dominican Republic, which provides you a little bit of abatement during the night. And then, interestingly, the winds in the Mona Passage tend to be light during the bulk of the daytime hours. So as you're moving off the northeast coast of the Dominican Republic toward Hourglass Shoal to cross the Mona Passage, the winds and seas are typically mildest from around or just before dawn until about the late afternoon. And that's when the wind starts funneling around the northwest coast of Puerto Rico and down into the Mona Passage, and things start picking up. Now, if you're close to Mayaguez or Puerto Real, so if you're close to the west coast of Puerto Rico, within 15 miles of the coast, in the late afternoon, then you're usually out of that funneling effect. But you don't want to be in the middle of the Mona Passage in the late afternoon or much of the night, because there's that funneling effect from winds along the north coast of Puerto Rico. So you're okay usually with an arrival after dark into Puerto Real, Boca Raton area, but you want to try to get within 15 miles of that area before too late in the afternoon. So that's what I've got for moving south and east from Luperon down toward Grenada. Anything else we can discuss?
I hear silence, Chris.
Okay.
But
that might be good. That might be bad.
Is that Denise? Well, Chris, you have been, you've guided us up
And
and
she
down.
asked what you recommend for is Kath on Denise's phone.
Okay. Do you have a question for Chris?
Oh yeah, just wondering about Luperon to Samana. If there's any advice, sort of general advice to getting there.
Sure. Luperon to Samana, any advice for getting there? It is probably best if you can make that all in, one 24-hour hop. So if we get a day where the gradient winds are generally not more than about 10 knots, then even the afternoon sea breeze won't be above 15. You can leave one evening, one afternoon before 6 o'clock and get in the next afternoon before 6 o'clock. If we can get you a solid 24-hour window where there are reasonable conditions. And typically it is more windy toward Luperon than it is toward Samana. In part because that afternoon sea breeze is stronger near Luperon and Puerto Plata than it is towards Samana. So more often than not, you would be looking to leave Luperon late in the day, get the nighttime katabatic effects during the first part of the trip, and then things usually aren't quite so bad in the afternoon near Samana. So you can approach that area in the late afternoon the following day. If one of those opportunities doesn't present itself when you're ready to go and you really need to get moving, then we can look at shorter hops. Luperon to Puerto Plata, there are a couple other places to stop before Puerto Real. Before Rio San Juan. And then you can stop in Rio San Juan and then make your hop to Samana. But you want to do that with relatively mild trade winds. If the gradient winds are 15 knots or less, then the afternoon sea breeze may pick up to 20, but then at least the seas are only a little bit miserable the first few hours in the evening. If the gradient winds are running closer to 20, then it picks up to 25 in the afternoon. It takes a long time for those seas to settle down in the evening. And that's really a bad time to be making those short hops to the east.
Chris, thank you for that.
Yep.
I think that makes it pretty clear that you have to watch the micro stages of your passages. I know that we have traveled up and down the Eastern Caribbean a lot of times. We've gone Old Bahama Passage, we've come the northern route, we've come the southern route around southern Puerto Rico and up through the Mona Passage into the Old Bahama Channel. We've gone east, we've gone west, we've gone north, we've gone south. And in between islands, you got to watch for the effects of the water and the waves. And I suggest in the evenings, if you're passing any of the islands at night, that you give enough room so you're away from the fish traps, because that has caused us a lot of pain hitting something like that isn't marked. And we did that off of Guadalupe, and it took out our cutlass bearing. We went in too close to Dehe in the middle of the night and didn't see a marker. They do mark them, but they are stuck all over the place, and you'll see a little round fishing buoy sometimes, or maybe just a plain old Clorox bottle upside down with a rope tied to the handle. But I'm going to turn this over to Denise, and I think that Joe hasn't been able to come in. I think we're having some internet trouble from the trouble you're having. So Denise, do you have anything else to say? If not, I will just thank Chris, and I'll finish the slides up and answer any questions that I can from the SSCA point of view. Denise?
Hi there.
Yeah.
Yeah, with regard to the FADs or the fishing attraction, hi, can you? Joe?
Yeah, it's breaking up pretty badly.
Hi. With regards to the fishing attraction devices, if anyone wants them, all of Rio San Juan,
Denise, this is almost
Stamina. So I've often helped cruisers coming from. Sorry.
Denise, you're breaking up pretty badly. Why don't you write up something and we'll send it to everyone who's attended about the fishing traps there for advice. That would help. Yes.
I will do.
And I'm going to say thank you very much,
Yes.
Denise. I'm going to go to Gabby and see if he has anything to say. And then I will go back to the slides and we will go over some slides, and then we will say good night and let you go on to your potluck.
Thank you.
And Gabi, did you have any comments? You need to unmute, Gabi. There
Sorry,
you
I
go.
had to mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm saying it was, it was great. I like to be a part of this and being able to listen to Chris Parker. Heard a lot of things about him. Never met him in person though, but yeah, every boater that I meet, most of the boaters that I meet here, they talk about you, man. You're a living legend.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. But it's important to get that forecast from Chris. I really think so. Each boat moves differently. We have a big heavy 51, and we have a big engine and big sails. We can do things other boats may not be comfortable doing, but then we've gone through some rough waters too. Other boats maybe, we didn't hit the Western or the Eastern or Western Caribbean until we'd already done a transatlantic. So we come from it from a very different point of view. And I know that Denise has done transatlantics and Kathy's done a lot of sailing too. Gabby, thank you very much. I'm going to put slides up, share screen, and we will, I'll finish the rest of this as a slideshow. And then we're missing some hosts, but I really think the internet's not working well today. It's taken almost an hour to get some of the bugs worked out of some areas. But I'm going to share my screen. And now I think you can see my slide here. with Chris Parker. And that's why I put the kudos for Chris Parker, because I really do think he has the information we need. So heading down island or east, there's Ocean World, there's Marina Puerto Bahia. Antigua's Captain Joe, we couldn't get the sound up. Grenada couldn't come in. Trinidad and Tobago, Jesse was apologetic. And so if you're heading west, there's a Bahama gathering at Black Point, March 15th through 17th. And you're welcome to that. It's at Lorraine's Cafe. And last year we had 70 boats. We also have some rallies that are coming from East and Florida and West Florida that will be joining up for the gathering. And I believe Marina Puerto Bahia is going to have an event in April. We just don't have a date yet, that we'll be inviting boats to go to. Our host in Antigua is Captain Joe Karpinski. And when you're there and arrive, if you reach out to Captain Joe, he'll probably take you for a drink at the Top Club, or you can get together with him. In Grenada, Lynn Goodings and Ken, they know pretty much everything going on in that area. They have a lot of support for you in Grenada and in the things that they do. Trinidad and Tobago, Jesse James is a host there. You'll find him with his exit own Maxi Taxi, and you can find his information on the website. He will welcome you in. He will make arrangements with the Coast Guard for you coming in. He will do everything he can. And again, heading west, well, that's the Bahamas area. There's a Bahama gathering in the Exumas around March 15th and 17th of next year. So what you saw with Kathy is the official SSCA cruising station flag. Thank you very much for that, Kathy. And something about SSCA, I don't want to, it's just a group. We're a group of people. We stay connected with a website. We use tools to stay in touch, like our Zoom sessions, what we call our 7Cs or our webinars that are informational more than anything else. We advocate for cruisers. We've been very active with NOAA and the charts and making charts available for cruisers that are complimentary through some various apps that are also free. But then we also support groups like Aquamaps, who is actually working now directly with NOAA to put their depth data into the NOAA apps, so that when you download, you're going to at least get the right depths for some of the ICW areas that have been shoaling in. That has been a huge collaboration between, we introduced the groups in 2021, and that was Bob 423, who does the Bahama ICW efforts. We introduced Waterway Guide to NOAA and to Aquamaps, and they are all working together now trying to get the right data into the NOAA maps and charts, which you too can update on their website if you have data. They will actually put your data into the website. And if anyone's interested, please send me a note at president@ssca.org. One of the other things we do is a monthly publication. Covers the Caribbean, Pacific, it's worldwide information. If you want to see a copy, I think Denise and Kathy just got their copies. And we have cruising station hosts. I think that you'll see that Denise and Kathy are an example. Joe is an example, and the others we have. We have about 100 to 150 active hosts around the world. We do events and potlucks and GAMs, get-togethers, can be a big conference or small. And we stay connected with our website with directories and lists to locate moving cruisers. We have a fleet map, we have lists, we have a direct access forum, so you can text message to other boats, even when they're underway. If they can't get internet, but by gosh, they probably can get text. And here's something on our website. You can see this whether you're a member or not. We share everything freely if we can. We have what I call informational or best practices webinars that you can find on our free SSCA YouTube channel under 7 Seas Cruising Association. And we also have a Facebook group that's public. That's 7 Seas Cruising Association. You'll find it on Facebook that you can post to or ask questions through, or come to the SSCA website. You'll find out how to join or at least access the information that you can get. And any questions, I'm going to ask Kathy and Denise if you have any other questions. I don't see anything in the chat or Q&A.
Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? No?
No.
Okay, no questions on this side?
Well, thank you all very much, and thank you for Chris Parker. And I hope you have a happy potluck. And Gabby, thank you so much for being there with Marina Porta Bahia. It sounds like you're going to get some company. Chris has actually told them how to get to you. And I really appreciate your attendance. And Denise, thank you very much. And Kathy, thanks you very much. If there's any other questions, well, have a good
No, we'd like
afternoon.
we really appreciate all of the support. And again, Chris Parker is absolutely amazing. I had the opportunity of meeting him about 11 years ago in Georgetown, and a wealth of information. And again, thank you. And thank you for helping us put this all together for the people here in Luperon. Greatly appreciated, Joan.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you all.
Have a great day. And thank you to the people that are attending remotely there or at any one time.